The brutal way that Muammar Mohammed al-Gaddafi was beaten to death by the Misaratan Brigade was a logical outcome of an ultra-violent foreign policy that did not seek to understand Libya before it began demolishing it. One of Libya's cities, Sirte, lays completely in ruins now, saturation bombed by NATO, including apartment buildings, the very people that NATO swore to protect in their cynical, non-humanitarian responsibility to protect charade. And this revealing comment, which it's really, I would not need this comment to make my argument. I do not believe in replaying people's soundbite gaffes, but it is so egregious and it does so much harm to my country, which my ancestors.
We came, we saw, he died. Did it have anything to do with your visit? No, I'm sure it did.
This does yet another nail in the coffin for American respectability in the world. The U.S. has created enormous fear throughout the world through its sinister, dark arts of casualty-less warfare using drones. It was a drone that set Gaddafi up to be beaten to death by the Misaratans. If you go onto YouTube and look around, you'll see the entire caravan that burst out of Sirte to escape was immolated by a rocket attack that had been guided, if not launched, by the drone. There are skeletons and charred remains still in the vehicles, as there are all over Libya, courtesy of NATO. The Misaratan Brigade, the people that Gaddafi was handed over to, and we do have forces on the ground, make no mistake. We could have prevented him from falling into their hands. We allowed him to fall into their hands. These people call themselves, and they spray paint this slogan all over the cities they attack. And in the case of Terrify, they annihilated the entire city because it was a black city that had fired rockets into Misrata. But in their case, they basically effaced the city from the earth, Tawerga. They called themselves the purgers of black skins and slaves. That was their motto, and that was the person that Muammar Mohammed al-Gaddafi was handed to be beaten to death. Basically, it was the same as if Hilary Clinton had beaten him to death herself, because she is the one largely responsible for America now being feared and dreaded all over the world, which will not make your children's lives any better, because there's a lot of other countries in the world, and we can't keep them all held down by naked threats forever. They are all going to run, not walk, to Brazil, Russia, India, and China, because they are terrified that this could happen to them. The Libya intervention has been conducted recklessly and violently at every point in its prosecution. Rather than Ms. Clinton engaging in the subtle arts of diplomacy and engagement, we unleash complete devastation on a small, prosperous, tightly controlled police state. For some reason, our entire media decided to make this conflict into a cartoon story of good versus evil, unwilling to ever utter a single good word about Libya under Gaddafi, even though there's a number of disturbing facts that I discovered in my early research, which is according to the UNHDI, Human Development Index, Libya was the most advanced country in Africa. Now, I'm not arguing that that is the case, but if you go through all the statistics and do the research of any high school student, you'll find out there's all of these issues about Libya that don't make Gaddafi and Libya into a caricature, cartoon character. And it's so disappointing that people turn to Jon Stewart now for news, and Jon Stewart is completely and utterly ignorant of this. He's partying and celebrating the fall of Gaddafi and joking about this brutal massacre of this man and his family. His family is all being tracked down and killed. His son was also in Sirte and killed and died as dignified a death as he could. His grandchildren were killed. His other son was killed. We're hunting down the leader of another state's family. This is not how America does foreign policy in the 20th century or the 19th century, except in the case of the war of extermination of the American Indians, perhaps. And even then, people winced and felt bad when they heard news of entire tribes being slaughtered or noble chieftains' families being destroyed. So, second, Libya had social welfare programs for its poorest citizens that statistically showed no homelessness and no food insecurity and a poverty rate of 7%, whereas the U.S. is approaching 20%. So I'm not saying Libya was a good or bad place. I'm saying we don't know. And apparently Hilary Clinton doesn't know. And Barack Obama doesn't know. But they're paid to know. And then the other factor is that Libya was a secular state with equal rights for blacks and women. And the people that are coming into power, according to Richard Engel, another completely black and white, two-dimensional viewer of this conflict, has said, well, these Islamists are very pro-American, but they're Islamists. They're going to introduce a more conservative government. So we're selling out the women, that's for sure. And that third, or fourth, I suppose, underlying its socialist secular state was a complex web of tribal and regional relationships. Now, by massacring Gaddafi in this ugly fashion, which we could have prevented, and Hillary certainly set the tone by coming in the day before, 2 days before, and saying we want him killed or captured. We hadn't said that before publicly in such a fashion, right in Tripoli by the Secretary of State. How do you think the Warfala tribe, the largest tribe in Libya, which does support Gaddafi, 1 million strong, the Tarhuna, 600,000 strong, these idiots in the American media, including, I'm sorry to say, Glenn Greenwald, who apparently thinks he's going to have more viewer sympathy, or he himself has not done a high school student's worth of research. You will know how to research Libya in the news on Google. You insert the names of the tribes until you finally find an article or two written by an anti-Gaddafi tribal member writing from the Middle East, lamenting about the poor conduct of NATO in their country. If you put in the word Warfala in your searches, you will start finding all sorts of things. If you sort by date instead of relevance. Relevance will mean you'll only see the mainstream media. So it's easy to find that sounds sort of difficult, but any proper research background material indicate these people are completely bloodthirsty and are undoing all the goodwill that was created for our country in the Second World War, any goodwill that was created by the Peace Corps. In the Cold War, we had allies. They might have been sons of bitches and we had enemies, but any respect for America is going to be just eroding so quickly now, since the war on terror began. So the U.S. and NATO, rather than seeking a way to help Libya achieve greater democracy while retaining its prosperity, its universities, its hospitals, its medical services, bombed the country to the Stone Age and ended up propelling a small minority of Islamic extremists into positions of power. It is absolutely reckless and incompetent foreign policy to arm jihadists to overthrow a secular state. And it's incredibly savage and brutal. It is no surprise that Gaddafi was beaten to death after capture, based on the example we set in Libya. Now, if Libyans who are Islamists or jihadists, I don't want to demonize you, but what I'm talking about is the hypocrisy of American policy. The thuggish way that Gaddafi was handled was the logical fulfillment. Now, with the Misaratan purger of black skins, I'm sorry if I'm going to stick with the fact that I think that's pretty out there. The thuggish way that Gaddafi was handled was the logical fulfillment of exactly what this witless warmongering administration created.